Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of My Week in Perfume, the weekly rotation series where I go through my entire week, I tell you what I wore, and maybe I introduce you guys to some new perfumes you've never heard of. And really, I just like talking about fragrances. So, if you enjoy that too, be sure to sub to the channel. Remember, guys, when I reach 5,000 subs, I'm going to be ranking my entire 21 fragrance Amouage collection. Ranking my Amouage collection is going to be very, very difficult. I've already scribbled out many pages attempting to have a ranking, but, still got some time before that, so definitely sub to see the Amouage ranking, and let's get right into my week in perfume. Let me know your scent of the day in the comments section. On Monday last week, I wore Nissaba Les Alpes. As you might be able to gather from the name, this is a fragrance in dedication to the Alps. I believe it tries to use ingredients found in the environment of the Alps. And as you all already may have guessed, this is definitely on the woodier side of fragrances. It has a beautiful coniferous, woody, pine needly sort of feel. It's sharp, it's fresh, but it's also woody in a very fresh cut wood way. Not that sort of ashy, drier wood. It definitely feels like wood that's been freshly rained on, the bark of a tree. It feels like a very alive green forest, an alpine forest. And my favorite thing about this fragrance is just the way the pine needles and the juniper come together to just maintain this incredibly well-balanced and surprisingly long-lasting, crisp, cool, almost icy pine effect. It's outstanding. Nissaba as a house is kind of really hit or miss for me. They have a couple good ones. They have a couple ones that are just like, who cares? The brand's bottles are horrible, in my opinion. Like, this is, I could literally maybe break this if I squeeze too hard. They're big on like being green and all this stuff. The cap is wood. These do leak notoriously, sometimes in shipping. I got lucky with this one. It does not leak. So that's Nissaba Les Alpes. I would recommend maybe getting a sample. The brand definitely could step up a couple of their things, but I think the quality is definitely there in terms of their actual perfume. Now on Tuesday, a brand where the perfume quality is undeniable. It's none other than Serge Lutens. And I wore one of my favorite purchases recently. This is Serge Lutens La Myrrhe. This is outstanding. This is perfection. I would change nothing about it. It's one of my favorite discoveries of the year so far, and we're only, 5 months into the year. I think it's going to be right at the top, even at the end of the year. What an amazing perfume. Oh, God. It's okay. So La Myrrhe is this really interesting hot and cold contrast. So in the top, you have very piercingly fresh, clean aldehydes that are bubbly and fizzy. And in the base, you have this red, resinous, glowing, sort of ambery myrrhe, which is a type of resin they use in perfume. It's sort of cherry limeade is how I would describe this fragrance. It's sort of like a carbonated cherry drink. But it's not sweet. I don't want you to get the idea of that. This is definitely a fizzy, effervescent, yet resinous and glowing fragrance. It's a really, really cool concept. I love fragrances with huge contrasts. And out of everything in my collection, I can't think of a fragrance that has a larger contrast between, I guess, tonal ranges or just types of smells than this particular one. It's incredible. Serge Lutens La Myrrhe. It's pricey. I believe it goes for, I think it's like $350 off of the Serge Lutens website. And that's pretty much the only place you can get it unless you have a friend that just happens to have a bell jar that he wants to sell you at a really good deal. But yeah, amazing fragrance. On Wednesday, I wore another amazing fragrance to the dentist, actually. This is Amouage Jubilation 40. This is the exceptional extra version of the original Jubilation 25 or XXV Man. And what a fragrance this is. Oh my God. The smell is like the bottle, ladies and gentlemen. This is regal. This is rich. This is opulent. elegance of the highest degree, but you're also, it's not Western world elegance. This is Middle Eastern, Eastern world elegance. It is, the description people use a lot of the time is you literally smell like you're riding a golden horse through the desert. Okay. And honestly, yeah, that's exactly what this smells like. This fragrance is dense and rich. It has a bunch of incense. In the opening, it's got this beautiful blackberry sort of black currant thing going on, sort of this stewed fruit jam sort of thing. It's sweet. It's slightly camphoraceous. It's actually slightly greener than the original, which a lot of people don't like. But in my opinion, if you're going to go for a modern version of Jubilation and you're not willing to spend the outrageous prices for the vintage bottles of the original Jubilation 25, then I think Jubilation 40 is definitely worthy of being the extrait of such an exceptionally famous fragrance. It's outstanding in its own right. It definitely lasts longer on me than the original. But it doesn't, I don't want you to get, this isn't a strong fragrance in the sense that it's not going to project off of you a ton. It's not going to be a room-filling fragrance. This is something you can wear on a summer night out, still stay close to the skin, but it will be present for quite a long time. It's beautiful, sort of blackberry jam incense, slightly sweet. Some people say blackberry pie. I don't really get that. It's not gourmand in that sense, but definitely an absolutely stunning fragrance. You should try Amouage Jubilation 25 and 40 just once if you're interested in perfumes at all. It will really impress you. It's one of those things where it'll introduce you to something you didn't know existed. All right, moving right through the week. On Thursday, one of my newest additions to the collection. I actually have an unboxing video for this coming out really soon. I considered not featuring it in this rotation because I haven't put the unboxing video up yet, but I figured, no, screw that. So this is Cardinal Heeley, or rather Heeley Cardinal. The brand is James Heeley. This is a wonderful liturgical, light, fresh, airy, churchy incense. Okay. You might be able to guess by the name that it was an incense perfume, Cardinal. It's absolutely beautiful. It gets compared to other really famous incense fragrances like Comme des Garçons, Incense Avignon, but this is a little damper in scent profile, whereas Incense Avignon is that drier, like really woody incense. This still retains some of that woody incense, but it's just a little bit fresher, a little bit brighter. In the top notes listed of this perfume, there is a linen accord, so maybe that's a bit of like aldehydes, maybe it's some sort of like white floral, white musk thing, but it still is a very churchy incense. There's a beautifully balanced sweetness to this perfume, very slightly ambery. It's one of these perfumes where if the sweetness was any more or any less, I don't think this perfume would really work as well as it does. The bottle is absolutely beautiful. I think Heeley as a brand is really, really underrated. This cap is metal, by the way, which is really impressive. Very heavy. They have some great perfumes. There's a mint perfume Heeley makes that's great. There's another incense called Eau Sacrée that's really great. Yeah, James Heeley, underrated brand in general, but I think Cardinal is really, really overlooked. If you're looking for a light, fresh, wearable, inoffensive incense you can wear in really any season, highly recommend Cardinal. So, moving on to Friday, another new addition. I already did an unboxing for this perfume, and I've worn this, I think, twice so far this week, once as a scent of the day and as a scent of the night. This is Xerjoff Louis XV, 1722. I mean, look at this bottle. I mean, Xerjoff bottles are just absolutely stunning. Bunch of fleur-de-lis on the top of there. I believe the top, the cap, there's a channel that suggests the cap is supposed to look like the tip of a fountain pen. Okay, I don't really know. But Louis XV, this is a collaboration between Xerjoff and a champagne brand. I think it's De Venoge, something like that. Really snooty old champagne brand. Okay. So you might expect this to smell like champagne. And in a way, it kind of does. but it's much more than that, okay? There's a ton going on in this perfume. First of all, for people that hate Xerjoff, I would recommend trying Louis XV, because there's nothing really stereotypically Xerjoff about Louis XV. It doesn't really have that annoying amber woody, maybe too sweet of a base. It doesn't really go into that direction. This is a really unique, very, very definitive, definitive isn't the right word, very decisive creation from Xerjoff. Starts off with this bubbly, effervescent feel. There's a very slight hint of sweetness, which can be read as like fruits. I think there's a plum note listed. Maybe that's the plum note, but it's this bubbly, effervescent, slightly sweet, fruity experience. And then on skin, and skin really matters for Louis XV, completely changes the entire wear experience. After that sort of bubbliness goes away, you go into this sort of lavendery, woody mid, and then it just sort of stays that way. The lavender fades away, and then it just sort of dries down into this slightly musky, slightly woody, beautiful, very slightly ambery dry down to my nose. It's extremely particular. It's kind of musky, and it's definitely not for everyone. A must sample if you're into Xerjoff, and if you hate Xerjoff, you should try it too, because I think that one will surprise you as to just how different it is from some of the other Xerjoff offerings. Okay, now, on Saturday, I wore another Amouage, and this is actually, I believe, the first Amouage ever, originally released in, I think it was 1983 as a gentleman's cologne, and later renamed to Amouage Gold Man. Gold Man is amazing. It's gone through reformulations. The newer stuff isn't as animalic, it isn't as pissy as the old stuff, and I know that might sound weird for non-fragrance enthusiasts watching this video, because I know I probably have quite a few people that are coming over from my Battlefield channel. This has civet in it. Civet is an animalic note that can come off as pissy. But don't worry, guys. This is one of the most elegant fragrances in my entire collection. I've worn this to weddings. I've worn this to dinners. I've worn this to important events, because that is a fragrance that really is imposing. You have to be very confident to pull that off. I think it works very well in formal settings. It has this very particular soapy, musky, aldehydic, bright, fresh, sort of white floral thing going on in the opening. And there's always this growl of something animalic in the base, which is that civet. And as it dries down, it gets warmer and warmer, and it just feels like fuzzier, and it just comes off as kind of a cozy fragrance, honestly. Some people find it completely too difficult to wear because of how elegant it comes off. It's also a beast. It's very, very strong, according to some people. My bottle is one of the newer bottles. So if you look for Amouage batch code nerds among us, let's see. So there we go. Mine is an I batch. I mentioned the reformulations, but to me, I don't really get the sense that this is completely overtaking the space around me. Maybe in the initial projection for about the first 2 hours, it is probably quite loud, but some people are adamant that this fragrance is just a complete and total monster, and maybe I'm not perceiving it correctly, or maybe the newer bottles aren't as powerful, but, you know, it's strong, it's present, but I think I might actually prefer or if it wasn't as strong as some people say. However, I am very curious in getting a vintage bottle. With many vintage fragrances, particularly Amouage, the vintage prices, the older bottles, are extremely prohibitively expensive. I think I saw one on eBay recently for like $900. I think I'll pass on that. And finally, actually my scent of the evening tonight, not my scent of the day, I wore this tonight. This is another fragrance I just unboxed on the channel from the brand Maitre Parfumeur at Gantier. This is Parfum d'Habit. Parfum d'Habit. You can just barely see it there. So, Maitre Parfumeur at Gantier, the name means master perfumer and glove maker. This brand was set up by, I believe his name is Jean-Francois Laporte, the same person that had a lot to do with L'Artisan Parfumeur, which is attributed to being one of the first niche brands ever, or perhaps even the first niche brand ever, which is a big deal. This brand never gets talked about. I think it's woefully overlooked, criminally underrated. This brand makes good shit, okay? Period, end of story. Parfum d'Habit is a beautiful, sort of a mature-leaning, classic woody fragrance is the way I would describe it. I get a beautiful, smooth, woody sandalwood note. There's a hint of earthy patchouli. It has some beautiful citruses in the top that don't really last very long. It just sort of gives it this short-lived effervescence. There's some like old world, maybe carnation going on in here with that sort of dry, spicy floral. And yeah, it's mostly a woody sandalwood spicy thing. Very classic leaning. Also a beautiful, soft, very well done leather in the dry down. It just comes off as put together, but not too much. Like you could still daily wear that just fine. And it would just come off as like, you smell really good. Like, wow. You smell good, but in a unique way, if that makes sense. So, that has been my week in perfume. Another week down. I'm already putting a pretty big dent in some of these bottles. I've had to refill my Le Myrrhe 5 ml decant already. I put a ton of this shit on. So, all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for the Amouage 5,000 subscriber ranking. I really do appreciate your time. Be sure to let me know your scent of the day or evening in the comment section. Let me know if you've tried any fragrances in this video, and I will see you guys in the next video.